Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. It's a story that has absolutely rocked the nation, and we're going to dig into everything investigators know so far. So it was on September 12th in Orem, Utah, that the political world was just completely shaken when Kirk was killed. An investigation kicked off immediately, and, well, the details that have been coming out are, to say the least, complex and really, really concerning. So, what have authorities actually managed to piece together? We're going to walk through the key facts as they've been reported, and we'll start with the suspect, who was taken into custody pretty quickly. Police identified and arrested a suspect, Tyler Robinson. Right now, he's being held without bail at the Utah County Jail. And here's a number that's really stood out to everyone. The alleged killer is just 22 years old. And that fact, his age, has become a huge part of the conversation around this whole tragedy. So let's look at who we're talking about here. Tyler Robinson is a third-year electrical apprentice who grew up in a small suburban town, but officials say he is not cooperating with them at all. He's also on a special watch while they wait for a mental health evaluation, and the charges he's facing are incredibly serious, including aggravated murder. Okay, so if the suspect isn't talking, how do you even begin to figure out a motive? Well, investigators are having to piece it all together from the evidence he left behind and by talking to people who knew him. And right away, Utah's Governor Spencer Cox pointed a finger at something pretty specific: online radicalization. He's talking about a deep dive into gaming culture and what he calls the dark places of the internet. And you know what? The physical evidence seems to back up the governor's theory. It's pretty bizarre. Investigators found a rifle with strange messages actually engraved on the bullet casings. We're talking a mix of internet memes, references to the video game Helldivers 2, and even lyrics from an old Italian anti-fascist song. The governor called it the memification of our society. On top of all that, authorities are also looking at a potential note left by the suspect. Now, there's another more personal angle investigators are looking into as well. Governor Cox confirmed that Robinson's roommate, who was also his romantic partner and was transitioning, has been, in his words, incredibly cooperative with the investigation. It seems she had absolutely no idea what was being planned. Of course, this wasn't just a local story for long. The shockwaves from this killing spread all the way to Washington, D.C., and it's prompted some widespread concern and, as you can imagine, a whole range of political responses. You can really feel the tension in D.C. right now. There's this genuine fear among lawmakers that political rhetoric has crossed a really dangerous line, and that maybe, just maybe, this assassination won't be an isolated incident. And one of the most powerful voices speaking out is Democratic Senator Mark Kelly. For him, this is deeply personal. His wife, former Representative Gabby Giffords, was a victim of a politically motivated shooting back in 2011. He's urging all leaders to be cautious, stressing that words have consequences, no matter who's saying them. And it's not just Democrats. You're hearing a very similar message from the other side of the aisle. Utah's Republican Senator John Curtis echoed that same idea, saying that radicalism from any part of the political spectrum is just not healthy, and it has to be condemned. But this is where we really start to see a split in how this event is being framed. On one hand, you have these bipartisan calls for everyone to just cool it down. But on the other hand, you have President Trump, who has directly pinned the blame on his political opponents. He told reporters, quote, "The problem is on the left, it's not on the right." So while some are debating the rhetoric, there are also some very practical concerns being addressed. Speaker Mike Johnson has been focused on calming nerves among House members about their own personal safety. He pointed out that they already increased security funding for members back in July, and now he plans to review what's working and what isn't with those programs. So where does this all go from here? Well, the investigation is still very much ongoing, and the legal and political fallout is far from over. In fact, Utah's Attorney General has made it crystal clear that, quote, "everything is on the table," and that includes the possibility of pursuing the death penalty. And all of this really leaves us with a huge, unsettling question, one that goes way beyond this one tragic event. The evidence is pointing to a motive that's steeped in the language of internet memes and gaming culture. It's a new and incredibly challenging frontier for trying to understand political violence, and it's one that investigators, and really the nation as a whole, are now being forced to confront.